and welcome to episode 8 of Geekers Creepers, the show where we talk about the geeky things in life and we talk about the creepy things in life. I am your host, Rob, and I am joined by the man who's cooler than the other side of the pillow, Jose. How's it going, Jose?
Rob, what's up? It's going pretty cool today. It's actually a cool day, a cool rainy autumn day.
Yes, it has been raining all day out here too. Yeah. So everything good with you? We're actually recording this on a Monday. We had some issues yesterday trying to get recorded, so we're gonna have this out on Monday. But you'll be able to listen to this podcast later on today. But yeah. So everything's good with you, Jose? Nothing new.
Yeah, everything's nothing new. I'm off tomorrow, so I get to enjoy the night. A little time off and do our podcast, which is great. So can't
Hmm.
wait. Can't wait to get into it.
Cool. Yeah, it's Columbus Day today, so I kind of didn't do anything, just pretty much relaxed. And as I was telling you earlier, I started watching this Hulu miniseries. I think it's called Monsterland. And strangely enough, the second episode is about shadow people. Pretty much exactly what you were talking about last week. I was wondering, I'm like, man, did
It's
Jose really
near.
experience this story, or was he just watching this TV show and decided to make something up? But
Yeah, try to
yes,
get in the Halloween spirit.
Jose's tall tales. Next week he'll tell you about it,
Tall
how he
tales.
won his billion, how he won his $1 billion. So,
Oh, I wish.
well, let's start out with what are we playing? Have you been playing anything this past week?
Yeah, a lot of old games. I got my Sega Genesis Mini back for
Okay.
my nephews. So, I was watching a video about the Shinobi games, and they ranked the all three Shinobi games: the Revenge of Shinobi, Shadow Dancer, and Shinobi 3.
Hmm.
And they ended up ranking Shinobi 3 as the best one. And I was like, you know what? I've never played Shinobi 3, so I'm gonna give it a whirl. So, I started playing Shinobi 3, and it's a good game. Me personally, I've gotten I think to like level 6 on Shinobi 3, but I still prefer Revenge of Shinobi. I don't know. Did you ever play Revenge of Shinobi?
I never played any of the Shinobi games. I know what you're talking about.
Oh man,
Weren't they? Aren't they side-scrolling ninja games?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Side-scrolling ninja games. That's correct. And the original one was so cool because it was so like 80s inspired game. You got to fight a Spider-Man, a boss that starts off as Spider-Man and somehow morphs into Batman.
Really?
You get Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's an interesting boss. Yeah, and he looks exactly like Spider-Man. He like comes down, crawls on the ceiling, and has the same red and blue outfit. You get to fight like this one boss who's kind of like a big built guy, and when you hit him with your shurikens, he starts changing colors. Then he turns green, and then all of a sudden his flesh falls off, and he turns into a Terminator, and he comes after you. Terminator
Wait, this is
inspired.
Shinobi?
Yeah, Revenge of Shinobi.
I think Shinobi was trying to get sued, man. I think, all
Yeah,
right,
well, they had to
Revenge of
change it.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, they had a Godzilla boss. You had to fight Godzilla. A guy that looks like Rambo who shoots a flamethrower at you. It's a crazy game, but I really like that game instead. I thought it's a better game than Shinobi 3, in my opinion. But
And
and
that actually came with um
the
that came with your
Genesis Mini,
Genesis Mini.
Shinobi 3, yeah, it did. It
Okay.
didn't come with Revenge of Shinobi, and yeah, but yeah, like I said, they had to make changes to the Shinobi game, the Revenge of Shinobi game, because of all the licensing issues. So they ended up changing a lot of the characters around in different versions of the game. So depending, like if you bought like the cartridge, the 80s or 90s version of the cartridge, you might get a different Shinobi, than
Gotcha.
the original one. And I also was started. I picked up again Super Paper Mario on the Wii.
Okay.
I had stopped playing that because I was playing a lot of TurboGrafx games, and that too. I was playing TurboGrafx, so just playing a lot of shooters and all kind of
Did you
stuff.
finally beat
But
Splatterhouse?
no, no,
No.
no. But you know what? I started playing it. I got a lot farther, and I saved it this time because it has save
Say-
states. Because I'm
Now,
like, man, I ain't playing this from the beginning.
I forgot to ask last time, but the the TurboGrafx Mini, it does have the levels of like one of the big things that the TurboGrafx had was you can switch there was a turbo button in essence.
Hmm.
So on the controller, you could either do just a regular, have it where if you just hit the button one time, every time you hit the button, you do the action. Then you could do the
Yeah.
second level that if you hold down the button, it'll do the action a little faster. You don't have to keep pushing it down. And the third level is that you'll just do the action nonstop. It's a turbo button in essence. Does that have it for the mini?
It does. It has all three levels
Okay.
on both the one and two buttons or A and B buttons, whatever they are on the turbo
Mhm.
pad. But yeah, it
So
does. And
I was gonna say if you want to beat Splatterhouse, the best way to do it is to put it on level 2 and
oh, okay.
use that. That's how I beat it.
All right, yeah, I'll try that. And I got to let me see what level it was. The one where I guess you kind of like hack. I guess it was the one you were talking about with the upside down cross that they kind of
Oh
changed
yeah, yeah.
in America. Yeah, so I beat that level, and that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Wait,
So
do
it's a
they
pretty
have the
cool
upside
game.
down cross in the game that you have?
No, no, they
It's the head, right?
don't.
The blue head. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the blue head. Right, right, right. And
All right,
but I
yeah.
thought it was pretty funny. That one there was this one. I don't know what it was. It looked like some kind of fetus crawling at you, and I
Yeah,
had
the
to
little
like hack
blobby
away at
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "What is that? A fetus?"
That's just trust me. Oh, you'll get to the fetuses.
Yeah.
You eventually get to a level that's all fetuses.
Oh
That
man,
sounds
I'm gonna play it
disgusting.
tonight. Yeah,
Out of
right.
context, people are like, what are these guys talking about?
You're like, oh, I can't wait to hack those fetuses.
We sound like
uh,
we're like what do you call it? The pro-lifer's worst nightmare.
yeah, right. Like, what are these guys saying?
um, yeah, so I finally beat the Lost and the
Mhm,
Damned. That is a GTA 4. That's Grand Theft Auto Part 4. It's one of their DLCs. I beat the original game years ago.
mhm,
I beat the Ballad of Gay Tony, which was a lot of fun. That was a really it's the original GTA, the regular story, is a little too serious. Then the Ballad of Gay Tony gets a little crazy, and this is the one that was still kind of serious. I would anybody that has it, if you're like if you say, well, I don't want to. I've already played the other games. I don't want to play it. I don't think you're missing out on much. It's a decent game, but it's pretty much
mhm.
there's nothing special about it other than you're riding motorcycles. I would say I would give it maybe a 5 out of 10. I don't think it was bad, um, but it's a Grand Theft Auto game. You do the same thing. You drive around, you shoot something. Every mission is you drive around, you shoot something. You drive around, you shoot something. That's it. There wasn't much to the missions. There wasn't much to the story, and the story actually gets a little confusing. It's like they're trying too hard to be Sons of Anarchy because I think this came out about a year after Sons of
Mhm.
Anarchy, and you can see how it's really influenced by that show. And I actually, the reason I finished it was because I started watching the Sons of Anarchy. I'm like, you know what? I want to go back and play GTA. So kind of one fed the other. And again, not much, uh, really not much there. But if you have the time, I would say finish it. It's just to get it done, but you're not missing out on anything. But that was pretty much what I finished up with. Of course, I played my Dead by Daylight, and oh, this weekend I went to my buddy Jason's place, and the group of us, we were it was three of us there, and we played with my buddy Mike. We played this. Have you heard of the Jackbox games, the Party Pack?
No, what's that?
Usually they're games, they're party games you could play. What you do is you play on your PS4 or your computer, whatever you have it downloaded on. And usually the party pack comes with like 5 different games. Maybe like two or three of them are really good. The other two are kind of mediocre. But everybody plays on their phone. So you go onto the jackbox.tv website, and when you're about ready to play the game, it gives you like a password. It'll say, for this game, this is your password. You put it in, and you just play on your phone. You don't have to download anything. You're just playing online. But there was a game that's called Push the Button, and it's like it came out. This party pack came out maybe about over a year ago. Yeah, it has to be over a year ago because I think I saw it when I was at PAX West last year. So what it is, it's a lot like Among Us. What you're doing is you're on a spaceship and you have X amount of people, how many are playing? Like, let's say you have 6 people playing. You have 6 people playing, and one of them is the alien, and the alien is trying to sabotage everybody else. So you're playing this in a room of people, right? And you're all playing together, and you'll get different tasks to do. Like, everybody has a chance to be the captain. Let's say I'm the captain, and I pick my friend Mike and my friend Jason to do a task, which is to paint something. They'll paint something on their phone, and one of them will be given the actual question. You'll see like paint a flower, and the other one, the alien, gets given like a different question. It'll say like paint a sun, and then when they're done, it'll show the pictures that they painted, right? Well, at the top will say that the human was given the question paint a flower. So if you look at it, you're like, wait a second, Mike's painting doesn't look like a flower, it looks like a sun. And then you start to question it, where, like, you start to say, like, Mike, I think you're the alien. So you could pick, like, if you actually think he's the alien, but at the same time, because you're playing with a group of people, he has to rationalize and try to trick everybody else why that's actually a flower. He might say, like, dude, man, I don't know, I can't draw well, that's a flower, look, it's a flower, they're the petals, it's a circle, it's a sunflower. And he could argue like crazy, and you might, that you'll doubt him, you'll be like, all right, maybe Mike isn't the alien. And so that, that's the game, and it's really cool. Like, there was one of the games, Mike, he was actually the alien, and he played it so well that they threw me up, because once you pick the alien, you could throw him off the ship. And I kept telling him, I'm like, I'm not the alien. I'm not the alien. They threw me off the ship, and you see me floating in space, and it turns out that, and it says like, it's like you threw out the wrong person. And there's Mike. Mike, like, they're little cartoon characters, but you see all of a sudden he turns out to be the alien, and he's dancing, and I'm just like, geez, it's a fun game. It is. I mean, I'm not doing it justice, but it really is a fun game.
No, it sounds real fun. It sounds like a great drinking game.
It is, and they've got a bunch of different games too. Like each party pack, and it's pretty cheap. Like usually like 20, you can buy it for like $20 a lot of times, and they come with like 5 different games. They're almost all of them are fun. They usually like 1 or 2 might be a dud, but I mean it's hours of time. You can play with your friends. It's definitely worth it if you have like a party that are over. So, all right. With that said, let's start talking about the topics of the week. The first topic is the PS5. Jose, did you get to see the new video? It was on YouTube. I believe it was on the PlayStation website, where it's a Japanese gentleman. I forgot what his name is, but he takes apart the PS5, and he kind of shows you what it's like, what's on the inside. Did you get a look at that video?
I did. It came out, I think, last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. All right. The one big thing that I noticed is either this Asian man is extremely small, or the PS5 is huge. I mean,
yeah, that sucker is massive, man. I looked at it too. I was like, whoa. I was like, I thought, the original Xbox, the 360 was kind of big, I don't know if you remember the eggshell color one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty massive, but this one looks to be even like, even bigger.
It was the size of that man's torso. It was his whole torso. Like, I mean, it is. Look, I originally said, and I know I said this. I said I like the design of the PS5. I don't know why people hate on it so much. I like the design, but at that time I didn't know how big it was. I thought it was a smaller. It's the size. It looks like a computer tower, and if you put that on your what do you call it? Like on why am I drawing a blank?
Entertainment.
Yeah, on your entertainment center, that's really going to stand out. I mean, people are going to look at that and say, why do you have a computer tower on your entertainment center?
Yeah, and I don't know if you're able to put it like horizontal. Do you know that?
Yeah, they said you could.
You could. Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks cooler like vertical, but you're right. It's like I'm looking at my entertainment center right now. I'm like, man, it's a good maybe 2 feet, because I have my TV on a wall, so my entertainment center is like a good 2 feet like underneath. I'm like, man, is it going to be like, like right underneath the TV? Like, man, that sucker's big.
It is. I think I heard somewhere saying that it was like 15 inches as far as the height, and it was 10 inches as far as the width, and 4 inches width, height, and then the length, I guess, is 10 inches. So it's a
Yeah.
big mofo.
Yeah, it's a beefy system, but
Yeah,
I mean, they have a lot packed into it, so
they
I guess
do.
you could expect it to be pretty big.
What I guess one of the cool things is you'll be able to take off the covers, the shell, and people are already talking that most likely than not, companies will be making like personalized shells that you can put on there. So if you have, like, let's say I wanted one for Dead by Daylight, I could put my shell of Dead by Daylight on there.
Yeah, I remember when the 360 tried to do that with their face plates too,
Hmm.
and you could change the face plates. I'm not really into that, I would leave it as is. I actually like the way it looks, myself. Obviously I'll see what it looks like in person
Hmm.
whenever I get it. But yeah, I mean it's a big system. I mean it's kind of a weird direction that they're going with because I mean the PS4 Slim is kind of small.
Yeah,
I mean um, the PS1 was kind of small. The PS2 was a little beefy as well, and then the PS3 was really big. But yeah, I mean it's a big system. But like I said, they have a. I don't know if you heard that motorcycle pass by, but yeah, it's a big system, but they have a lot packed into it, and it is what it is, and I guess it's one of those where I'll have to wait and see what it looks like in person to make my final decision. But I actually like it.
yeah. Again, I still like the design, but for me, it's just so big. I can't believe it's so big. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what she said.
exactly. Um, um, but I don't. Uh, I'm not a big fan of, like you said, it's the PS3 was a big chunky boy also. That thing, you
Yeah.
called it the Foreman grill, and every time I look at my PS3, I I'm like, yep, that thing looks like a Foreman grill, you know.
Hmm.
But this thing is just like it's gonna be if it's I didn't think it, like I said, I like the design, and I didn't think it was an eyesore, but something that's so huge, people are gonna look at that and just say, hey, what's that thing you got sitting there? And I just honestly don't even know if I'll have any room to put it. I'll have to put away one of my I'll have to put something away, either my old PS4 or something. I just don't know.
I'm with you. If I ever do get it, I'm definitely gonna have to put away my PS4 instead. You'll be able to play your PS4 games on the PS5 anyways, so
Hmm.
it'll just have to be put on a shelf or something, or
Yeah,
maybe I'll put it in a spare room.
and we'll see. When it comes out, I probably won't buy the first. Uh, well, I know I didn't put a pre-order, so I'm not going to get the first one. Maybe I'll buy it like a year later. And at that point, they always come out with the second iteration. It might be smaller, so I'm hoping that
Yeah,
they'll do that. It'll come out with the smaller version.
yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right. I'm probably not gonna get this iteration as well. I haven't gotten like I said, a day one launch console since the Dreamcast.
Hmm.
Even like the Xbox, the original Xbox, I got it like one. This is gonna sound scary, but I didn't pick that up until after I actually got DSL internet because at the time, I still had dial-up. And once I got DSL internet, I was like, you know what? I was like, I got high-speed internet. I was like, I can get the Xbox now, because I could play online. And like I said, even then, I picked it up a couple years later after launch. The GameCube, I probably picked up maybe like a year after launch. And yeah, I mean, I'll do the same thing with the PS4 or PS5. I'll wait for, like you said, either the new model to come out, which will probably be cheaper anyways, and I'll scoop one up.
Real quick, you mentioned something. I totally forgot about this to put on a topic, but
Mm.
you talked about the Dreamcast, which is your favorite system. Did you hear that
Yeah,
they're talking about doing a Dreamcast Mini?
yeah, I did actually. I was like, oh man, that'd be pretty interesting. I would definitely scoop one up. I mean,
Yeah.
do you have a Dreamcast
No,
or
my
have you
buddy
have?
has one.
Yeah.
A few of my friends have one. My friend Andre, my friend Mike both have one. My friend Mike picked it up because he ended up getting a disc. Like at that time, the Dreamcast was like you could buy it for like $20 or something. It was like dirt
Yeah.
cheap. And he got a disc that had like every single Nintendo game on there. So that's the reason he bought it.
Oh. I mean, the Dreamcast already is pretty mini. It's a
Mhm.
small console. It's not like a big. I have one sitting on my entertainment center right now. I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, I can't imagine like a mini Dreamcast. That'd be pretty cool. But I don't have mine connected because it doesn't have HDMI or nothing like that. So I just have it mainly out for like, kind of like, I guess like decoration sort of.
Mhm.
Just so that people could ever like, oh, you got a Dreamcast? And but yeah, I think that would be pretty cool to get the Dreamcast Mini.
Yeah, and again, it's a rumor. Nothing has been confirmed about that. We'll see. We'll see if that comes out.
Yeah, yeah, we'll wait, a couple weeks and see. I'd be pretty interested, just to see what kind of games they would come up with it. Because man, the Dreamcast, it was loaded with games, fun games.
Well, speaking of fun games, Mortal Kombat 11 now has Rambo. Did you hear about this?
No, I did not hear about that. That's
All
an
right, well,
interesting choice.
let me read this. This is on the wrap.com. And I'll include a link on our podcast. It says Sylvester Stallone to voice Rambo in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. Sylvester Stallone will reprise the voice of John Rambo from the original 1982 classic action film First Blood and the upcoming upgraded version of Mortal Kombat 11. Rambo is one of the 3 characters being added to Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, which include Mylena and Rain from Mortal Kombat Universe, are also new. The Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate Edition goes on sale worldwide November 17th. The design of Rambo is true to his original look in the first Rambo film, First Blood, which saw Sylvester Stallone playing a weary Vietnam vet who is underneath the hardened warrior exterior. I'm sorry, let me read that. First Blood, which saw Sylvester Stallone playing a weary Vietnam vet who, underneath the hardened warrior exterior, really just wants a nice meal from a diner. Uh, while Rambo's look is based on his character in the first movie, Sony said in an announcement that the design and cinematic teams working on Mortal Kombat 11 drew great inspiration for that film as well as the subsequent sequels. All right, there's a little more to it. Uh, but yeah, we've got Rambo on Mortal Kombat 11.
That's insane, man. That's crazy. I haven't played a Mortal Kombat since I think 10. Have you played any Mortal Kombat lately, or?
Yeah, I played 10. I actually just played it yesterday.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm not big
that's a
into
great
fighting
game.
games, but it's a fun game, and they always bring in all these crazy characters. I mean, they've got a Terminator, they've got
Terminator.
RoboCop, and now they got Rambo. You can have Rambo
Now
fight against the Terminator.
yeah, now you have all the 80s like behemoths, all
Hmm.
in one game, and it's starting to be like Smash Brothers.
It
How they
is.
started coming up with all these crazy characters and like Capcom
Mhm.
characters in Smash Brothers. Now it's starting to be like that with Mortal Kombat.
So it's kind of weird. It's actually gonna be voiced by Sylvester Stallone, but it's like Sylvester Stallone now voicing the young Rambo. Again,
Yeah,
there's so many things that are messed up about this. One, let me ask,
yeah.
did you see the last Rambo movie?
Nah, I think the last Rambo movie I saw was probably part 3.
Yeah, that last Rambo movie is like uh, it is a movie about Rambo just killing every single Mexican on screen. It really is. He goes to Mexico and then he like kills Mexicans. He comes back across the border, sets up traps, and just kills multiple Mexicans. He was killing so many Mexicans. I was looking around in the movie theater where he was going to come after me next. You know, it
Like,
was
I don't like where
insane.
this is headed.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna slowly leave the movie theater before Rambo gets me too.
Yeah.
But it was but he just goes nuts. But then again, they're not even using the Rambo from the Rambo movie. They're using it from the First Blood. Did you ever see that movie, First
Oh
Blood?
man, it's a great movie.
Yes, that is actually a good movie, and it's not an
Yeah.
action
No.
like Rambo movie. It's about a guy that comes back from Vietnam and he's got post-traumatic stress disorder, and he's being he's not
Mhm.
and he's just being treated badly by the police. You know, like
Yeah, First Blood's definitely not what you would call like an action. I mean, it's an action movie, but it's not like Rambo 2 or Rambo 3. You know what I mean? It's
no,
not
not at
like
all. And they're going to be
it's a
using that
serious movie.
design. Yeah, it's a serious movie. So
Yeah.
I they should have maybe gone with Rambo from Part Two, or First Blood Part Two,
Yeah.
because
Right.
I
That's
mean,
exactly when he started coming out like more like action and and stuff. Man, now I want to watch that movie. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
because
Rambo 2.
if you ever play these Mortal Kombat games, whenever they start to fight, they always say something cheesy. You know,
Yeah.
like the Terminator will probably say something like, "I told you I'll be back." You know, but again, this is the Rambo for the first movie. What's he gonna say? He's gonna come out. He's gonna be like, I, I, I want to see my
Yeah.
therapist. I don't. He's got post traumatic stress disorder.
I just wanted something to eat.
Yeah. Yo, Adrian. I just wanted some meatloaf.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they should have had Rocky instead of Rambo.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that'll be like a costume design.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, Rocky technically is a fighter. You'd put him in a fighting game.
um, but yeah, and then well, of course they're also coming out with Mylena and Rain.
Uh-huh.
Mylena, I'm surprised she's not already a character. She's a fun character to play. And then Rain,
Yeah.
I think Rain first came out in Mortal Kombat 3. He's like the water. He's just a. He's got his powers are based on like water, I guess. Um,
Mm.
I like Mortal Kombat. I like I mean, when they came out with X, you could play as the
Yeah.
Alien, Predator. You had Jason from Friday the 13th. What's his name?
Freddy Krueger.
Leatherface. Freddy Krueger was actually the one before that.
Oh, was it?
hmm
Hmm.
And you could play a Leatherface, and then of course your roster of characters. So they
Yeah.
really add a bunch of different characters, and it's fun. I'm not good at it. I've never been good at fighting games, but I do have to say they are fun, and the fatalities are always they're always really crazy.
A little gruesome.
hmm Well, also with that said, you mentioned Smash Brothers. Did you hear that Smash Brothers is coming out with uh, what is it? The Minecraft. They
The
got their new
Minecraft.
downloadable is Minecraft.
So, so what do you mean? Like they pick their characters from Minecraft or what?
I believe
I
Steve.
don't play Minecraft, so
Yeah, me
so I have
neither.
no idea.
I think one of the main characters, Steve, I think his name is. He's one of the.
Like one of
He's
the
now.
blockheads.
Yeah, one of the blockheads. He's now a playable character. I don't play Minecraft. Not my. I don't play Minecraft, and I don't play Smash Brothers. So for me, it's kind of
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like a wash subject for. I mean, you're right. I wish I could get into Smash Brothers. It looks
mhm,
fun, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll pick one up and give it a whirl and see. My nephew's getting a little older, so maybe I
mhm.
could, be like, hey, look what I picked up. I got the Smash Brothers because I don't know. Have you ever heard of Evolution, the fighting tournament in Las Vegas?
Yes, I have.
So a couple years ago, obviously not this year because got canceled because of COVID. But over the past couple years, the Smash Brothers game, the audience has grown like exponentially.
hmm
Like the main draw used to be like Street Fighter. Street Fighter was always like the final game of the tournament,
hmm
and Smash Brothers, started, drawing more of an audience than the Street Fighter audience. And I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, like they probably even moved it to like the main finals of Evolution Smash Brothers. That's how insanely popular it is, and it's just. I remember when it first came out. To me, Smash Brothers was like I was like older. I was already like in my teens or maybe even early 20s when that game
Yeah.
came out. So I looked at it as a kid game, like a kid Mortal Kombat. You know what I
hmm
mean? So I never really got into it, but it looks fun.
I don't think I've ever played a Smash Brothers game. Um, I would get it for the Switch because I have a Switch, but it's the Nintendo thing where they never really lower the prices. You'll never see like
No.
Smash Brothers on sale for like $5. Like you'll see, like Spider-Man might be available for $10 on the PS store every now and then. But they don't do that with Nintendo really doesn't do that. And I don't want to spend, it might go on sale for like maybe $45, but I still don't want to spend $45 on a game that I'm like, I don't think I'm really gonna like. I just want to play it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, you're absolutely. I mean, they never go on sale, and which is weird because you would think that their games sell millions of copies. It's not like a rare thing where you can understand like, well, it's a rare game to find, so I could justify the price of it being high, but these games are, massively overproduced, but they hold up real good in their price, which is
Yeah.
kind of like you said, it's very staggering.
Um,
And
I
mhm.
but they sell. That's the thing. I mean, people buy it. Nintendo, I think, just has their opinion that why put this on sale if people are still going to buy it? There's no
Yeah.
need for. They're not hurting for money. Let's put it that way. If they were, they would be on sale.
Yeah, and even their old games, like if you were to try and find like a Smash Brothers for like the Wii
Mm.
or the GameCube, those games are still like well above $50.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's insane.
Um,
But and then Minecraft, yeah, I was like, whatever. I always thought it was a cheap game or whatever. It's just a game that never appealed to me. I could
yeah.
be dead wrong. It could be the funnest game of all, but it's just not a. I'm
I
not into
I
that.
play Minecraft and I try to get into it, and it just didn't do it for me. I thought I would like it a lot because I
Mhm.
like SimCity Builder, so to build stuff up. But it
Yeah.
just I got into it way too late. Maybe if it was earlier. And again, that also seemed like a kid game, and it's like playing with Legos. There's nothing wrong with the game, and I think it looks really cool. People do some really awesome stuff on there. But yeah, it just didn't appeal to me, and there's just a lot of time and effort you have to put into every little thing that you're going to build.
Yep, I
But
agree.
with that said, um, we talk about our next topic. Now, this next topic is, I would say, a little scandalous. So, um, for any sensitive listeners, you may want to tune out for the next like 10 minutes or so. And it is about the scandal regarding Rooster Teeth and Funhaus. Let me read the article I have here. Um, this is actually from GamerRevolution.com. There are tons of articles on this, and I just picked this one because it's a lot quicker. But it says that Rooster Teeth's Ryan Haywood and Adam Kovic embroiled in explicit photo controversy. So, Rooster Teeth hosts Ryan Haywood and Adam Kovic have become embroiled in a controversy surrounding explicit photos they reportedly sent to fans. The Achievement Hunter and Funhaus on-air personalities have been targeted on numerous leaks this week, with Haywood also having been accused of unknowingly sending explicit photos to a 17-year-old. Let me keep going here. What happened with Rooster Teeth's Ryan Haywood and Adam Kovic? Explicit images of Haywood and Kovic leaked online this week, with the images of Haywood having reportedly been sent to Tessa Graves, who claimed she was 17 years old at the time of receiving them. Graves explained in a YouTube video that Haywood did not know she was 17 and that the Achievement Hunter star thought she was 18 at the time of allegedly sending and receiving the images. Graves went into further detail about her relationship with Haywood, explaining that the pair had intended to sleep together in a hotel room at PAX, though these plans eventually fell through. However, Graves noted that she had sent and received nude and explicit images from Haywood after meeting him at an event. Graves also spoke of the power imbalance between Rooster Teeth's male personalities and their fans. There was a culture, quote, there was a culture, there were, there, there's something mixed up here. There was a culture, if you were lucky to sleep with one of the members, you were given status because of that, she said. No further allegations were made about the wider Achievement Hunter team. Um, then it says Kovic was also the target of the leak, with reports circulating that he was the subject of a catfish in which an anonymous individual used the porn actress's image to convince the Funhouse host to share explicit photos and video with them. And then, oh geez, these videos include Kovic engaging in acts with his wife. With there being claims that his wife was unaware that she was being filmed. However, these have been unverified. Now, both of them have. It goes into a little more detail, but both hosts have left Rooster Teeth and Funhouse, and this is just part one of this. I believe who's the first one? The Haywood. So also on Reddit, there's another video of a girl that claims that she also had a relationship with him, and she goes into detail about what happened. She was also 17, and she actually engaged in those acts, in the acts while she was 17 with him. And this is this isn't the first time something like this has happened with a lot of these, you know, on YouTube or video game personalities. I don't know if they're really considered celebrities, but that they've
Hmm.
they kind of look. It's one thing, if you have a fan, it's kind of like, if you're a big time rock star, you got a fan and they're like, they want to, hook up with you. I guess that's one thing, but they have to be over the age of 18. And even that, I think if you have to question it, if you have to ask, well, are you 18? Maybe that person's a little too young for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these
Yeah.
guys,
I mean,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, me personally, I've never heard of any of these guys or or shows that you're referring to, so I don't know how they could be like, like superstars or somehow. I mean, they must have a big fan base, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And then you said one of the guys was married, huh?
Yeah, and he was sending these videos.
Oh man,
Um,
total creep.
yeah, I mean that maybe we should have brought this topic up on the creeper topic for the Geekers creepers. Um,
Yeah, this week's gonna be a different kind of creepy.
um, yeah. So Rooster Teeth was, if correct me if I'm wrong. Let me double check, but I believe they were known for Red and Blue. Let me just double check here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Do you remember Red and Blue?
Yeah, yeah. It was some kind of show that came out. It was like based off the Halo characters. And,
Yes, Red versus Blue.
mhm.
Yeah, so
Red versus Blue. Yeah.
that was Rooster Teeth. That's where they first, made it popular with their little skits. And
Okay.
and then, after that they do their own, they have their own podcast, they have their own shows, and they've kind of really grown now that they have this huge web, this huge internet base where people watch their
Yeah.
videos and their reviews and all that. Think of it like an IGN, kind of like an IGN or a GameSpot. Um, but with these guys, it's look, man, you know, you you're like a 30 something, 40 something year old guy, you're doing a hobby that you really love to do, just if you have fans, fantastic, you got fans. Um, if it just, these guys are just idiots. They're thinking, they if this is all true, again, they're allegations, and but there are multiple allegations. If this is all true, then it's got to be a wake up call to a lot of these personalities to tell them, look, you're not a big time celebrity. And even if you are, you're not going to get away with this.
Right.
You have
Right.
fans.
Right.
They look up to you. Especially if they're younger, just guide them along the right way. Say, hey, look, this is what you have to do if you want to start your own show. Um, and look, if you want to hook up with people, you can, but you gotta, again, if you have to ask, are you over the age of 18? That's not the right person. You're 35, you're 40. Don't have a midlife crisis and try to, live your high school days. That's that's
Yeah.
stupid, and it's gonna come back to bite you like it did them. Now, if these are true, because they stepped down, yeah,
Oh wow.
they had a job which I would love to have, a job where all I do is review games and play video games and get paid good money for it. That would be awesome. But now, good luck trying to find something like that again. You know,
Yeah. I mean, good luck trying to find something, and good luck trying to stay out of jail too. It's like, oh
yeah,
man,
that's true. That's true.
it's they kind of threw it all away over
Mhm,
over someone you know some some that's very avoidable. It's
mhm.
like, man, just like you said, if you're wondering like how old somebody is, then hey, don't even bother. There's plenty of there's plenty of hot looking moms out there that
That is, maybe
you
that's what we'll
know
name this episode, Jose. There's plenty of hot looking moms.
there's plenty of hot looking, yeah, a lot of these kids that are watching your videos, their moms are pretty hot. You might want to deal with the moms instead. You'll get in a lot less trouble. You might get in trouble with your wife, but you won't go to jail.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other one. The other one with the wife. That's like that one. So yes, of course he of course should not have sent videos to this one person, but he was getting catfish. That also,
Yeah.
whoever was doing that, kind of scummy, you know,
Yeah, but
trying
also
to catfish.
come on, man. You that's like the oldest scam in the book. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she's like this hottie likes, like on dating sites. I remember when I would get on like the dating apps, and I'd get an email or a message from a certain super attractive chick. I'd be like, yeah, right. Like,
She'd ask you to
like,
send her money on Kick.
yeah. I'd be like, hey, send me your email. I'm like, why do you want my email?
Hey baby, you look really cute. What's your
Yeah,
mother's maiden name?
yeah, right. What high school did you go to?
What's your pet's first name?
What's your pet's first name? Like,
Uh,
oh yeah, one of those, huh? Yeah, that guy, he's so dumb. He got scammed. Like, oh my god, what a dumbass or dumb guy.
well,
But yeah,
um,
yeah,
all right. So, well, with that, we'll see how that evolves. If anything, if there's any kind of fallout with Funhouse. But on to the
yeah.
next topic, which is The Stand. There's a TV show called The Stand, or actually, I'm sorry, it was a book by Stephen King. And as of sometime last week, there was a report on IGN which states it's we'll cite it here or we'll put a link to it. Stephen King's The Stand, official trailer and images revealed for CBS All Access series. At New York Comic Con 2020, CBS All Access released the official trailer for its adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand, which will premiere on the streamer on December 17th, 2020. Here's how CBS All Access describes the miniseries. The Stand is Stephen King's apocalyptic vision of a world decimated by plague and embroiled in an elemental struggle between good and evil. The fate of mankind rests on the frail shoulders of the 108-year-old Mother Abigail, played by Whoopi Goldberg, and a handful of survivors. Their worst nightmares are embodied in a man with the lethal smile and unspeakable powers, Randall Flagg, played by Alexander Skarsgård, the Dark Man. And then there's some other people that are going to be joining in. Some names that I know, or one name I know is James Marsden. Um, there's a few other ones you could take a look at that. So, Jose, let me ask: did you ever read the book The Stand or see the miniseries?
No, I never read the book or saw the miniseries.
Okay.
The last miniseries I saw from Stephen King was The Shining. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't too good.
Yeah, it started off good and then it just like totally like fizzled out. Like, yeesh, that's
Mm.
not that good. But I think the scariest part about this The Stand is that Whoopi Goldberg is going to be in it.
So,
That alone is
uh,
scary.
I read the book, loved the book. Um, the book is a lot like other Stephen King novels, and I'm gonna sound like what do you call it? Like a snob because everybody says this, but I have read a lot of Stephen King books,
Hmm.
and he writes a really good story, then at the end kind of fizzles off. Either there's like a weird twist where you're just like, oh, yeah, I didn't know this was possible, you know, so, and I don't want to ruin it for The Stand because, if there's any listeners, if they haven't read the book or haven't seen the original miniseries, again, the end has, it gets a little unusual. Um, but there was a miniseries that came out in the early '90s with Molly Ringwald, and it had what's his name, Lieutenant Dan, Gary Sinise, and it had a few other actors in there, and I remember watching it when I was younger. I liked it. It was a good series, and then afterwards, it got me to read the book. Um,
Hmm.
this new one, it's on CBS All Access. I honestly do want to watch the new version, but I'm not going to pay for CBS All Access. But I
No,
am
no,
really
no, no. Don't give
curious
them
what
no
they'll do.
money.
I mean, book is huge, and it actually fits in perfectly right now because it's about a plague that kills everybody except like a select few people. So that coronavirus thing, it fits perfectly with what's going on right now. You know.
Yeah, definitely just wait. What'll happen is kind of like, I don't know if have you ever watched Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
So that was like the YouTube uh their subscription based, like one of their main like shows, right? And
Mhm.
now it's on Netflix. So who knows, you might be able to get it on Netflix.
Hopefully. So, speaking of which, Cobra Kai, have you watched that?
Oh man, I love that show.
Dude, I've been telling everybody to watch it. Cobra Kai
Hmm.
is without a doubt. it's so much better than it needs, that has a right to be. That
It, it,
show, it is, man, it is good.
it kicks ass.
Yeah.
Now,
It,
did you see both seasons?
yes, I saw both seasons.
Yeah. I thought season one was like, oh man, it was a tremendous season. I was like, man, what a great show, you know.
Yeah.
And season two, I thought was pretty good, but I thought the end was a little like ridiculous. So I was like, oh man, it's starting to get a little like
All right.
way, I don't want to get into spoilers, but it was
Yes,
definitely
the
like,
end does go over the top. It's so
yeah,
much, it goes over the top so much that I'm like, how are they going to beat this in season three? Like it's
yeah.
but you know what I really like about it? They
Hmm.
there's going to be a minor spoiler here. I shouldn't say minor. There's a decent spoiler, but they actually have a kid. I think he's not Mexican. He's from Venezuela, right?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
from Venezuela.
But either way, the main character, one of the main characters, the karate kid in this episode is a Hispanic kid, which for me, I'm like,
Yeah,
finally, we've got, there's somebody out there that represents, the Hispanic people as like, you know, as a major character in the show, and a good show of all things. This
yeah,
one, and the crazy thing is that, like, by the end of the first season, I was getting a little aggravated. I'm like, oh man. So they built up this, the Hispanic kid, finally like a protagonist, and they're gonna make him a bad guy. I'm like, that's great. So now it's back to, if you're Latino, you're gonna
you're the
be a
bad
bad
guy.
person. But man, when I started season two, I'm like, okay, dude, you're doing it right. You guys are
Yeah.
actually building a really good character.
Yeah, and I liked Miguel's character. I thought, I was like, you know what? I like all the characters in that show. They were all like believable and likable
Mhm.
characters. And I was like, this is how you make like a reboot or some kind of a reboot to like an old series, because there's been so many series that have tried to like redo, like recapture the past, and it just failed miserably. But this
Mhm.
one, like, even Johnny Lawrence, you feel for the guy, you kind of root
Yeah.
for him. You're like, I like this guy. And
Yes, the bad guy
Daniel
of the
LaRusse,
yeah, the bad guy of the old Karate Kid. You're just like, dude, you're actually like a. I want you to
he's a
win.
cool dude. Yeah. And then you're kind of rooting against Daniel LaRusso in
I
this series.
know.
You're kind of like, you know what? I don't like Daniel LaRusso. He's kind of like a jerk. And yeah, it's a great show. I love that show. But
Yeah,
yeah, we'll have to do a talk about it next time.
yeah, that'd be cool. Do our
Yeah.
our analysis of what we rate the first and second season.
Yes.
Okay. Well, with that said, let's go to our topic this week. So, our topic this week is on specifically. I talked to Jose earlier today, and what we're going to talk about is in this last generation. So, the PS4, Xbox, what is it, 360? Is that the
Xbox One?
Xbox One? Sorry, Xbox One and Switch. What our favorite genre of games were?
Yes, yes, yes. I'll start off by
Okay,
saying my favorite genre finally is the single player campaign.
really?
This generation went back to well, at least on the PlayStation 4, right? It definitely went back to like single player. And because I did last generation, I did uh my heavy gameplay on my 360. And the 360 was generally known as the your multiplayer system. You play your Call of Duties and your Halos, and I was definitely all Gears of War. I was definitely all about that the previous generation. And then this generation, I got back. I hardly play online anymore. I get into the single
Mm,
player camp. I play the God of Wars and Horizon Zero Dawns, and so many great single player games that I've really like gone back to appreciate like how good they really are.
okay. Um, Sorry, I think I hear a dog barking in the background.
Oh my God, that's my neighbor's dog. You know, oh, I should call like the department of whatever, because this poor dog, they never take him out for a walk. He's just they never even put him inside the house. He just stays out there like 365.
Really,
Terrible. Yeah, I feel so bad for that dog.
man. Uh,
Hmm.
well, all right. Well, back to the topic. Yeah, I would say. I'm just the opposite of you as far as like what my favorite genre of game this year was. Um, not this year, for this generation. I previously I almost never really played online. And don't get me wrong, I still like first player. I love story games. But the one game that got me this generation was Dead by Daylight. That game, I don't even know if it's a genre as much as, well, it's a 4v1 game. You have four people versus one person, you know. And for a while there were a few games that were coming out like that. I believe there was Evolve was like that. They had Friday 13th. You know, most of those games, and they had other ones that were like that too, but most of them kind of died out, and Dead by Daylight survived. And I don't know what it is about this game, man, but it is addicting. I'll go back, I'll play other games, but I know for sure at least, 3 or 4 days out of the week, I'll be playing Dead by Daylight. And that genre in this generation specifically just stuck to me. I have never I don't have any other game in this genre where I was just like so addicted to playing it. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I finished Spider-Man. I love open world games. So I finished Spider-Man. I've gone back, I've played, GTA 3, San Andreas, because I like open world games. But this itself um just got, dug its nails in me, and it's been that way for this entire generation. That is right now, as far as a genre game, I would have to say it's the 4v1, but specifically Dead by Daylight is the one that's gotten me this generation.
I'm gonna have to give that game another try, man, because you talk about that game every week, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, it sounds like a great game, and I don't know. I remember I downloaded it, and I played it, but I don't know. Like I said, this generation, I just have not really been into like online gaming. I don't know what it is. The only game I've played a lot online was Rocket League, and even then, I haven't played that like at least a year. I was like heavily into it like when it first came out, and yeah, it's just I'm gonna have to give it a whirl and see what it's all about, and see like, hey, now I see what Robert's talking about.
Well, the one nice thing compared to other online games is you really can't talk to each other. So if you play the killer, so anybody that doesn't know what Dead by Daylight is, it is you have four survivors and you're inside a map. The map is random and you have to do generators inside that map. The generators are also placed in random spots. And you have to, as a survivor, you have to get the generators repaired. At least you have to get five of them repaired before the killer kills everybody. And each killer has a separate power. Like some of them might put traps down. There's another one that runs really fast with a chainsaw. And as you play, you'll there are different killers, and they're also licensed killers too. So you have Freddy, you have Leatherface, um, you have Scream, the character from Scream, the Saw, the Pig. So you have all these different characters, all different powers. As a killer, you have to kill all the survivors. As a survivors, you have to hide from the killer and do all the generators and escape. And then there's a little more to it. So it's a real simple. It's pretty much like a game of tag and hide and seek combined. But the cool thing about it is not the cool thing, but one of the better things is one of the reasons why I think also I got into this as opposed to other online games is because as the killer, you can't talk to. I'm sorry, you can't hear anybody else. You can't talk to anybody else, even though you're all online. There's no chat between between anybody. And unless I join a party and I'm playing with my friends, if I'm on the same team, they're not going to talk to me. I'm not going to talk to them. You can't talk to each other. That's part of the game, which makes it a lot of fun. And you don't have to worry about some kid going on and on and on, about having relationships with your mother. You
Yeah.
don't hear anything and you just play the game. So that's one of the reasons why I like the online aspect of it.
Yeah, because even with Rocket League, when I play it, I don't talk to anybody. It's kind of like it's a three. Granted, it's a small. Well, I would imagine it's about the same amount of players. It's a
Mhm.
3-on-3, and I've tried to like, hey, what's going on, everybody? And no one's like talking. I'm like, all right, so I guess it's that kind of a game. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a whirl. I'm gonna see what that's all about.
Give it a shot. Tell me what you think. We'll talk about it next week.
All right.
I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Ooh, I got the cough. Maybe I got the Rona.
You
Okay.
got the COVIDs.
So I guess any other genres that you want to talk about for this generation that you've liked, Jose?
Let me see what else. Yeah, I really enjoyed the. Well, I've always enjoyed racing games. Like that's always been one of my
Hmm.
favorite genres. But just on a PlayStation 4, one of the main reasons that I got a PlayStation 4 actually was Drive Club. Did you ever play that game?
Yes, it was on VR too,
Oh
wasn't it?
man, yes, it was in VR as well. And man, I remember when I first saw Drive Club. Being a racing fan enthusiast, I was like, oh my god, that game looks epic. To
Hmm.
me, I was like, with the weather effects, I'm like, man, I've never seen anything like that. Um, not since Project Gotham Racing 4. And man, that was the second game I picked up when I got my PS4. I got Horizon Zero Dawn, which was the brand new game, and I picked up Drive Club. I picked it up used,
Hmm.
and that was a great game. The Gran Turismo Sport, that's a pretty good game as well. I spent a lot of hours playing that game, and different kind of games. Drive Club's more arcadey,
Hmm.
and Gran Turismo Sports more like more technical, more of a tech game, but very beautiful to look at, and both are spectacular in VR too. I love playing both games and just admiring the cars that I wish that I could have in real life instead of in VR. Like, oh man, like that sucks.
Um,
Yeah,
that's the one thing that uh, I think that's another genre. I don't know if it's a genre, but something that really got me was VR this generation.
yeah,
You
yep.
know,
You're right. You're absolutely right. I guess that's a new genre.
yeah, and like there are a lot of games. You know what? I just thought about a topic for next week. If we'll either
Hmm.
do a Halloween topic or why don't we talk about what game we would want to see in VR? What
Oh,
type
I
of game,
like that.
games?
Yeah,
So
that
all
sounds
right.
like a good topic.
Um, but the one thing, as far as this generation, in previous generations of games, I was a huge fan of open world. I loved,
Hmm.
Skyrim. That was on the PS3, GTA, and like three, San Andreas, three. Um, what are the other ones? Geez,
Vice City.
Vice
No,
City,
that's
Saints Row. Saints Row, I was a huge fan of Saints Row.
Saints Row.
But this generation's open worlds, I think they're just getting way too big. They're getting way too big and not enough to do in the actual world that I don't like it as much. Like GTA 5, it's huge.
Mhm.
It's a huge open world, but everything is it's a facade. Like you can't go into the buildings. They're just there, and without that, it loses that, it's just like it loses the interactivity. You're like, that's great. It looks really pretty and it's really big, but I can't interact with anything. There's not
Yeah.
much to this. There's not much to this, and that's one genre that I slowly am, not liking as the generations go on because it's
Kind of
too
fall out
much.
of love.
Yeah, and too much and just not enough to. It's strangely enough, but it is too much and not enough to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I love, as you know, I'm a big Yakuza guy.
Hmm.
But you're right. There's so many like cool like places that I'm like, oh, maybe I could go in. Nope, I can't go in there. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this looks pretty. Can't go in there either. Like, oh, this. I was like, there's a staircase. Like, oh, I wonder where this leads. Can't go up that staircase.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, granted, a lot of it, they just probably poor developers just don't have that that kind of a time to like, but it leaves you wanting more, because you're right. It's an open world, and I guess we got so spoiled by some games that maybe at one point we're kind of like that. But yeah, I found myself the same way, playing
Hmm.
the Yakuza games where I'm like, wanting to like explore, different like, this takes place in Japan, so there's like a lot of cool shops in the game that
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and can't go inside, like, oh man, this kind of sucks. But yeah, and I agree with you. It's definitely a genre where, to me, it's I'm not too excited about as I used to be. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, whatever. You know,
Exactly.
it is what it is, I guess.
So, all right, I guess that's our topic for today. Before we get to the creeper side, as usual, I like to give our email out. You could always email us at um, geekerscreeperscast@gmail.com. If there's anything you want to correct us on, anything you want to tell us, or if you just want to give us anything we want to talk about for the next topic, definitely email us, and we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah,
And you could
even if we
also,
suck, just be like,
yeah,
hey, you guys suck. Let us
yes,
know.
you can tell us that, but still give us a 5-star review. But tell us we
Yeah.
suck in our emails. Um, and then you can also check us out at you can follow us on Twitter at Geekers Creepers, and we have our YouTube, which we'll be uploading this soon, and that's you can find us. You just type in Geekers Creepers, but it's Geekers Creepers podcast, and we're
Yeah.
going to be posting this on
Podcast.
YouTube, and I believe that's all stuff we have right now. So we're about to take a break, and we're going to come back talk about the creepy topic. This is going to be my last week was Jose's story. This is my story. I'm going to start the topic out by going over a case, some background regarding what happened, and this is a case, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. The facts I'm about to read you are facts from a court case. This is a criminal case. I have changed the names and the locations, but everything here is true, and it's based on an appeal from the defendant. And the reason I'm reading this is because this will go into a little detail as to my own experience and what may or may not have happened that the night in question. So let me start here. Defendant's convictions stem from his participation in the murder of Michael Smith. Smith was a manager at the Cine Theater in the Jamestown Mall in Springfield, Illinois. On December 23, 1988, the defendant, Peter Mullins, and John Gold met at the music store in Carbondale, Gold's place of employment, to discuss their plans for that evening. The defendant, 16 years old at the time of the incident, suggested that they go to the movies because they could get in for free. Defendant has been employed at the theater until late November 1988. Defendant also wanted to pick up his last paycheck. Defendant left his job due to cash shortages in his register. Gold testified that when the group decided to go to the movies, defendant said that they could rob the place. Gold thought he was joking, but defendant began to explain his plan. Defendant said he would get money from the manager's office when the defendant went to get his check. The manager usually let defendant go into the office alone, and Mullins would help by distracting the manager. Gold stated that he told the other two to count him out. After leaving Music Town, the three went to Gold's house and then to another friend's house, James Lubbock. Defendants went inside Lubbock's house while Gold and Mullins remained in the car. Lubbock testified that the defendant asked him to go to the movies. Lubbock declined because he was afraid of Mullins. Mullins was angry with Lubbock because he would not get a weapon for Mullins. Defendant told Lubbock that Mullins would not be angry if he gave Mullins some gloves. Defendant took some gloves and went back to the car. Now let's go into a little detail here about what happened on the night in question. The Cine Theaters at Jamestown Mall are in two separate buildings, the big building and the small building. At approximately 7 p.m., the three went to the big theater and walked in without paying admission. Defendant signed a sheet and spoke to one of the employees. They remained in the big theater watching two movies for approximately 2 hours. They left the theater and went back to the car. Gold testified that defendant again talked about robbing the theater. Again, defendant and Mullins told Gold that they really were not going to go through with the plan. They got in the car and drove to the small theater building. Defendant went into the small theater and let Mullins and Gold in through the back door. They went in and watched the movie for approximately 45 minutes. According to Gold, during that time, the defendant left the movie twice by himself and a third time with Mullins. Defendant's first two trips were for candy and the bathroom. The third time, the defendant told Mullins that the manager was alone. Gold testified that he asked Mullins if they were really going to do this, and they said yes. Gold stayed at his seat and watched the movie. A short time later, defendant and Mullins returned, and the three left through the back door they entered. At the car, Mullins squatted next to the car door until he was let in. Gold testified that Mullins had a wet spot on his coat. Defendant had no stains on his clothing. According to Gold, the defendant said, "I can't believe I did this. I feel like a scumbag." Later, in question by police, Gold told them Mullins made those statements. Around midnight on December 23rd, Michael Smith was found dead in the office of a small theater. He had been stabbed several times in the back, and there's some more information what had happened, but I'm going to keep that out because it's a little too gruesome. One of the two safes in the office was open and was empty except for some coins. An empty cash box was on the floor. The assistant manager estimated that about $1,100 was in the safe. So that in particular is what happened at these theaters in that we're going to call the Cine Theater. And what happened in essence, there was a murder, and there was a murder of the manager, and it was for the money, and it was between these two theaters. There was the big one and the small one. The big one is actually called was called 7 through 10, and the small one was called 1 through 6. I'm sorry, the big one was called 1 through 6, and the small one was called 7 through 10. And they went to the big one, which was 1 through 6, stayed there for a bit, then went to 7 through 10, where they committed the robbery and the murder. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to tell my story. Okay, so regarding what happened to me, this was back in 1995, and yes, it was 95, and I worked at that time. I was either 16 or 17, and I worked at the big theater, the 1 through 6, and this particular day I was working as an usher. And an usher at the movie theater, what we had to do, we would take the tickets when somebody came in. We would also clean up after people left the movies, and then I would clean up around the lobby. And I was a closing usher, so I had to make sure that all the doors were locked, everybody was out. So let me give you a brief description of what this theater looked like. At this time, this was a 6-theater movie theater, or there were 6 theaters in there, which at this time this was fairly big. I know now you have ones with 30 theaters, and that's become more popular, but when this was built, this was considered a big theater. It was not just 1 or 2 theaters. It was a big theater. Each theater was huge. You could fit hundreds of people. So it was a pretty big theater. And you would first, the box office where you buy your tickets was in the outside, and then right behind the box office, it was full of window panes. So it was all window panes. You could see directly in there. As soon as you walked inside the glass doors, right in front of you was a huge lobby, and right in front of the looking right, as soon as you walk in, you would see the concession stand. The concession stand ran pretty much the length of the lobby, where the popcorn was sold, and you could buy your slushies, whatever. And within the lobby was this huge rectangular area, and to the left and to the right were the movie theaters that you could walk down the hallways and go to the theater, or you could just walk along the edge and go to the theater. Now, along the lobby, again, this is a rectangular lobby, where the wall meets the ceiling, there were mirrors on there. All along all four areas of the lobby where the wall meets the ceiling, there were windows, and they were lined up throughout the entire lobby. The reason behind this was because if you were working as an usher, or if you were working behind the counter at the concession stand, you could look at the mirror that was on the along the top of the ceiling there, and you would be able to see in all directions to see maybe somebody was sneaking in, to see if somebody was causing trouble. Again, this was, at that time, this theater was always packed. There were people out the door. When there was a movie, people would, this was the place to go to. And again, this the one I worked at was the bigger one, and I worked there about 7 years after this murder happened. Now, when this murder happened, it was at the theater that was the small theater, the 7 through 10. That was only a parking lot over. It was nearby. It was just a parking lot over. So they weren't too far. And the 7 through 10 was always the cheaper theater. They had the older movies. And so I was working at the theater one night to close up, and this was in the summer of '95. I had, I knew about, again, I knew about the story, but it was an urban legend. We knew about it. And there were parts that were an urban legend. It wasn't like we could just look it up like we can on the internet now. People knew that a murder happened at the theater. What I was always told, um, and when people would talk about it, we were told that the murderers actually hid in, they hid like in a movie theater, and when they closed up, they attacked the the manager and killed the manager and took the money. Now, according to what the court reports say, that's not the way it happened. It happened that they were actually, this happened while the movie was ongoing. Again, this is the first time I've heard it this way. These are the facts. With us, the urban legend was that somebody hid in a theater. So I'm closing up. It's got to be around maybe 11:45 or 12, a little after 12. And I go to every movie theater and I make sure that the doors are locked. All the back exits are locked. All the exits everywhere are locked. I'm sweeping up and I'm doing my checklist. And there was a panel right there where the usher would tear tickets that had little lights. If any of the lights were red, that would tell you that one of the doors are open. None of the lights were red. They were all green. All the doors were locked. As I'm finalizing everything, I'm writing, taking my notes to make sure everything has been checked off. Out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody walk into the men's bathroom. Now, as I mentioned, there's the lobby. On each side of the lobby, on each end of the lobby, there were the bathrooms, a male and a female. There was one side had a male and a female, the other side had a male and a female. So again, out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody walk to the bathroom, but I did not see them directly walk to the bathroom. I actually saw the person through the mirrors that were on the ceiling. I saw what I would say would be maybe from the their stomach down, maybe around mid chest level down, their legs. Through out of the corner of my eyes, I saw them in the mirror walk directly to the bathroom. All right. My first thought was like, oh my God, somebody's still here in the movie theater. I thought about what had happened, the urban legends and the stories I heard about this murder, and I got nervous. Look, it was just me and it was my manager. And my manager, she was a great manager. Her name was Lisa. And at that time, I always thought she was, much older and more mature. But looking back on it, she was honestly probably maybe like 2 or 3 years older than me. So she was at the most 20 years old. And I knock on the manager door. The manager door was always locked because there was no safe and money in there. And the manager door was actually always behind the box office where you would buy the tickets. So I knock on the door and I tell Lisa, I'm like, Lisa, I just got done doing my checklist, but I saw somebody walk into the. I said I think I saw somebody out of the corner of my eye walk to the bathroom, and she's like, "Oh, did you actually see the person?" I'm like, "No, I saw the person through the mirrors," and of course she's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And me at this time, I was in high school, they thought I was all macho. I'm like, "Well, let me go check what it is. Let me go check what it is." So I have a little. If you ever see ushers, they have like a broom. They sweep everything up into a little bin, and the broom is probably about maybe 2.5 feet long, if that. It's probably 2 feet. It's a small little broom. So I tell her, I'm like, all right, well, I'll go check in there. And I go in there with the broom. I go into the men's bathroom, and I am nervous because I'm like, if I saw somebody, there's somebody hiding here. So I turn the corner, I go into the bathroom, and I look at the urinals. Nobody's there. And I see that I think there were 3 stalls. So I take the broom. I'm holding it by the bristles because I'm ready to, like, I guess, fence somebody if I see them. And I kick the first, or I push the first stall door. Nobody's in there. I push the second stall door. Nobody's in there. And again, now I'm really getting nervous. I'm like, if somebody's in here, it's going to be me versus them. And so I get ready. I push the third one in, and I got the broom ready to hit somebody if there's somebody in there. This tiny little broom. Nobody was in there. So I go back out and I tell Lisa, I'm like, Lisa, you know what? Must have figured in my imagination. I'm sorry. I didn't see. I guess I didn't see anything. I went in there, but I told her, I'm like, it looked so clear, like what I saw somebody walking in there. And she's like, well, that's fine. Look, you made. She told me, she's like, you made sure all the doors are locked. I'm like, yes. And she's like, you went through all the theaters. I'm like, yeah, I did. She's like, all right, well, let me hurry up and lock up. She locks up, and she puts there was like sensors that as soon as you lock the door and close it, if anybody tries to open up a door, if anybody tries to get anywhere, the sensors will go off and it'll alarm the police. So she sets it all up, and afterwards we're outside just having a final conversation before we get in our cars and leave. Again, this is around 12 something, and again the walls. Remember, I mentioned that the entrance in there was all glass paneling. It was all glass paneling. You could always look right into the theater. So she's locking up, and I'm like, Lisa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I thought I saw something. She looks at, she's like, don't worry about it. It was, it's sometimes those things happen. And right then and there, again, out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody through the mirrors walk into the bathroom. I look over and I notice that Lisa looks over too. And I'm like, Lisa, like, did you just see that? She's like, yeah, I just saw somebody going into the bathroom. And I look at her, I'm like, what do we do? She's like, look, I don't know what we saw, but if somebody's here, the alarms will go off. She's like, let's just, you know what? Just go home. Let's not talk about it. Let's go home. We both saw that. We both went home. The alarms never went off. Nobody ever left there. To this day, I don't know what I saw. That's my story. And with that, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right. And we're back. Jose, with that said, that's my story of what I saw that night. Uh, what do you think it was, man?
Man, that is one creepy story, man. No doubt about it. And then you said you were, how old were you? Like 17 years
I
old
was
when that
17.
might have
Yeah.
happened? Oh man. Yeah, it's now when you saw like the entity or whatever it was going to the bathroom, did you say anything like, "Hey, is anyone in here?" Or
You know what? I forgot to mention that, but yes, when I
oh,
first
you
walked
did.
in there, I'm like, hey, if anybody's in there, just
Hmm.
get out or whatever. Because again, my first thought, I'm going to be honest, Jose, was not, oh my god, I saw a ghost. My first thought is somebody's in here and is about ready to rob us.
Yeah.
I wish I would see a ghost because trust me, a ghost is not going to murder you for money, and especially because we knew about this story about this murder that happened years ago.
Yeah, that would have been my thought too. A ghost would have been the last thing on my mind.
Hmm.
Like you said, you're like, man, somebody's gonna try and rob us because it happened before.
Hmm.
And that would have been my instinct too. Like somebody's trying to sneak in and maybe rob us after hours or something like
Yeah.
that. And yeah, so you go in the bathroom and you're like, now when you went in the bathroom and you kind of like saw that there was no one there, was that when you were kind of like, you know what, I think I saw what I think I saw?
No, even then, when after that happened, my first thought was like, it was probably my imagination. It was at that when my first thought was like, I think that I just maybe it was a reflection of a car driving by, you know,
Mm.
or just something else, just my imagination. It wasn't until that me and my manager were both outside that we both saw it at the same time that I was just like, what did we just see?
Yeah.
Because again, what it was, and it's so dumb because like it looked like the person was going to the bathroom. Now all you see is what we saw was through the mirror. It was the bottom half, probably from the chest down, of somebody just walking. And it was a quick walk. It
Mhm.
wasn't anything like,
Yeah.
like they're doing a slow walk. It was just a quick walk. But it looked like the direction of them where the way a mirror was set and where it was pointing, it looks like they're going into the mirror, into the window or bathroom. Um, Now again, you know, I'm always skeptical. I don't, I'm not a big, don't believe in ghosts, but let's say, for example, this was a ghost, you know, if a ghost haunts the place where somebody died, the person that was murdered didn't die in this theater. That person died in a different theater, which was next door. Also, the one big thing is that those people, the murderers, were in this theater before they went to the other one. They kind of hung out at both,
Mhm.
but still, it is something that to this day, you know, if it was just me seeing it, I could chalk it up to like if you've ever seen something out of the corner of your eye, you're like, oh, what was that? And it turns out it was just your mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
But it was so weird to have my boss also notice it. And then she just said, look, we locked the doors. If somebody's in here, the alarm's gonna go off.
I think it was a ghost. I'm not gonna lie. I think it really was. And because for one, you saw it, right? I mean, if it was something from the corner of your eyes, you probably could have been like, ah, it's probably nothing.
Mhm.
But definitely, it drew your attention,
Yes.
right? So you knew right away, like, all right, let me go check. It wasn't like like I said, if it was from the corner of your eye, you probably would have just brushed it off, like, whatever, it's just, I gotta hurry up and finish up so I can get out of here.
Mhm.
But it caught your attention. You went to go investigate. You thought you saw something. Then you and your boss saw
Yeah,
something. If it was nothing, you guys wouldn't have seen nothing.
yeah,
It could have been. Yeah. See, the thing about ghosts are, like you said, the murder happened not at that theater, right? So it
hmm
happened like in a what I imagine was a demolished theater now. Was it demolished or?
Well, that theater is, strangely enough, the one I worked at is now demolished. That the other
Okay.
theater is still open, but it's now like a bar.
Hmm. See, so that is a little weird. That's a little. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be related to that, you
hmm
know, murder. It could be like a ghost of, this area. It's an old area. Who knows what might have roamed
Yeah.
before. Something could have happened there, maybe 100 years ago before it was even built, and or I don't know the whole history or anything like that, but a lot of places, a lot of modern places have been built maybe over old burial
hmm
places, and I seriously think that it was some kind of an apparition. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if it was an evil apparition, but it was definitely something there. Um, Uh, Now let me ask you this: like when you went to work the following, I don't know if it was the next day or whatever, but
mhm,
the next time you went to work, were you a little more uh, like how should I say, like
apprehensive.
curious
Oh,
or
you know what? I think at that time, um, again, I was 17 or 16. All 17, 16-year-old kids are, uh, they kind of have like, not all of them, but a lot of them have like their macho thing where it's like, well,
mhm,
honestly, I don't think I really even cared at that point. I just remember it being really weird. The other thing was, so this job I had, I used to love the job. It was a typical high school job where nobody cared about working there. You were friends with everybody. Like most of the time we were just playing around instead of actually doing work. It was when you see those crazy high school movies where the person has a job and all they do is goof off. That's what this was. So I always looked forward to going to work because it was just a time to hang out with my friends and
mhm.
goof off and and just have fun. And so like going back, I wasn't scared. I wasn't like, what did I see? I just kind of, I think I told a story to some people and we all joked about it that it was ghosts, and nobody ever saw it again. But the older I got, I'm just like, I look back on that. I'm like, what did we see? What,
Yeah.
and again, it's just like it was me and my boss and we both saw it the second time. And it was so crazy because I remember now, again, this is the way I remember the story. And I'm hoping I haven't embellished it as years have gone by because this happened a long time ago. But the way I always remembered is that as we're outside, we both look, and I remember her saying, I remember me asking, I'm like, did you just see that? And she said, yes, I just saw that. I'm like, that was what I saw before, somebody walking into the bathroom. Again, it it wasn't when we saw it. It doesn't always look like it was that person walking to the bathroom. It was a person walking in the direction of the bathroom, but you could only see it through that mirror, and it was the exact same spot. We both saw it. The alarms never went off, and again, that was what we were worried about. It wasn't when we saw it the second time, it wasn't like we were there saying, "Oh, did we just see a ghost?" No, we were
Yeah.
thinking, is there somebody in here that's looking to rob the place, like they
Right.
did at this other like at the other movie theater. And knowing that the alarms never went off, police were never called out, who knows what we saw, man.
You know, like I said, I think it was a ghost, but you know, when you see it, because I've had other experiences with ghosts as well, and when you this might not have been an evil type of spirit. You know what I mean? It might have just
Mhm.
been like a spirit passing by, which is why you probably like brushed it off. Maybe like, well, I wouldn't say brushed it off, but probably like weren't like too worried about it. Like the following time you went to work. for example. So it was probably just an apparition, nothing malicious or anything like that. Because had it been an evil spirit, you probably would have felt it like something is not right here. That's an evil spirit, and you probably would have been like a little more apprehensive the following time you went to work. And because you did your rounds, you checked, you're like, there's no one here, and I mean, it could have also been like maybe your subconscious, like thinking like in the back of your mind, like somebody got robbed, years ago, doing the same kind of job that I'm doing, right? So it could have been maybe in your subconscious as well, maybe a little mind playing tricks on you and your boss, because you figure your boss is probably a little more worried because she knows where the money is.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been a little apprehension. I imagine it was probably late as well.
It was about like 12:30 or so.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit of both. It might have been your mind playing tricks on you. It could have been maybe some kind of apparition, like I said, not entire. It doesn't have to be an evil spirit, just something that maybe through the mirrors. Now I'm not a supernatural expert or anything like that, but maybe the mirrors somehow like opened up some kind of like a portal into like another dimension or something like that. That for a split instance, you caught something from another dimension.
Yeah, who knows? At the end of the day, I don't know what we saw, and any of your theories are as plausible as it could get, because at the end of the day, it could have been just us, our eyes, playing tricks on us. Again, to describe what the person was wearing, you talk about your shadow people, but I do remember the person wearing black.
I was just about to say that you just witnessed a shadow person too.
Maybe I did.
Yeah.
But I do remember the person wearing black. That was the thing, and it wasn't where the theaters were located at. The theaters were located by a mall, but they weren't inside the mall. They were outside the mall. And at 12 something, it's not like, I always thought that maybe it was the light of a car that maybe was shining that caused a reflection to kind of make it see like we saw something. But at the way these theaters were located, and at the time there were no cars driving around. Everybody had left. There was never, unless it was the security driving around to make sure nobody was around, no cars would be driving around there. The parking lot was big enough that there were no cars driving, that would reflect the light. It was a weird situation. We don't, I'll never know what it is we saw. It would be, and I've lost touch with my manager. I haven't seen her for 20 years now. But I would like to one day, if I ever meet her, to bring up the story, see if she remembers it. And maybe she could tell me, no, Rob, we didn't see anything. I was just humoring you, Maybe she could tell me that, she never saw anything.
Now, have you tried finding her on Facebook?
Actually, I have, and nothing. There's nothing there.
So she disappeared.
So, yeah, she disappeared also.
Shadow Man got her.
But that's my story of my unusual encounter with whatever it was. My you could call it paranormal, or you can call it just unusual, mysterious encounter. But with that said, I do have another topic I want to talk about too, Jose.
Yeah,
I just wrote this down, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, Jose. The next thing I'd like to talk about is actually just because I was just thinking this year, almost every year I go to a haunted house, every year. But due to COVID, I'm getting a little paranoid about this. But so my question is, let me ask this first. Do you go to haunted houses?
I do.
All right. I just
you're talking about like the theme ones, right? Like the theme, not like real haunted houses.
No,
like
I'm talking like fun ones. This is to all of our listeners. This is the fun haunted houses. We're not advising anybody to break into abandoned buildings and try to and hurt themselves because they want to get scared. No, I was just asking, what can you think of a few that have been memorable? The ones that you've been like, these are ones that I really liked, and why did you like them?
Yeah, there was actually one right here in Munster, Indiana. I don't know if you've ever went to it. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Reaper's Realm. Realm.
Yeah, I've heard of Reaper's Realm. Yeah.
And I went there, and I had a great time. It was really some parts were spooky, some parts were cheesy. You had to go on the slide. I went with an ex girlfriend of mine, and there was just a part of the haunted house where it has kind of like weird laser lights flashing or whatever, and it's a weird feeling because it kind of makes it look like you're walking on some kind of a weird bridge, right? But it's just
Hmm.
like the way the lights were. And my ex girlfriend was so terrified to like walk through it. I'm just like, it's just lighting, It's not even like the scary part, right? It's just like, and she was like grabbing on like like if she was gonna fall. It was just that kind of a weird effect,
Yeah.
to the haunted house. And there was some parts where it had a slide, and you had I had a good time. I've gone to a couple of them actually. I've gone
Mhm.
to that one was obviously the best one, and years ago. Oh man, this is probably like 20 years ago too. There used to be a mall on the north side of Chicago. I can't remember the name of the mall. It was on Clark Street, like north over there, like near Wrigleyville. Well, anyways, they had like a haunted house, and we were just over there like around October, and we saw it. We're like, hey, we should go check out this haunted house at the mall. We thought it was pretty interesting.
Hmm.
So we went, and I don't know what happened, right? But I kind of like stood behind the exhibit because I was kind of like intrigued by one of the like scary like characters. Um, it was uh, like a puppet sort of, right? And I was just staring at it. I was like, man, that's a pretty interesting bloody puppet that they have there. So my party kept going forward, because they didn't see me like stop behind. And as they were as they were walking forward, I saw one of the guys that worked for the haunted house. He was gonna, he was, creeping up behind him to scare them, but he didn't see me because I was behind. Right? So when he scared them, I saw it all, unfolding right before my eyes. He scared my friends, and then I scared the guy that was scaring my friends. So I thought that was
Oh,
really funny. But yeah, Reaper's Realm is pretty cool. It's really big too, and yeah, it's too bad that like you said, due to COVID, everything is like you can't do it,
yeah.
can't go.
We had there were a few that we had that I've been to that I really liked. One of my favorite ones was it's at this so out here where I live, there's like a little pioneer farm where they've got it's a bunch of acres and they've got all these old timey stuff that kids go to and they learn what it was like growing up during the pioneer times. You know what I mean? Like they'll have like a little shop for where they weld like they used to or they
Mhm.
blacksmithing. They have a barn. Like it's to teach kids.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the middle they got a pond. So it's made up to look like an old timey village. And every year they used to have their Halloween event. And what they would do is they would hire all the kids, all the theater kids from all the high schools in the area. They would volunteer and they would create, they would dress up. So there were like if there were like a couple of big barns, and those barns in and of themselves were haunted houses. But when you enter the pioneer area, you could go to like to one little area. Like everywhere you walked around, there'd be like a monster somewhere. It would be like it would be think of it like an open world haunted house in essence. You
Mhm.
everywhere you go would be something different. Like when you walk by the pond, all of a sudden you would see like the creature of the Black Lagoon walk out of the pond.
Oh,
And what it was like when he turned around, you would see he had a scuba pack on, but like from the
mhm.
front, it looked like he was a creature of Black Lagoon. Um,
Yeah.
and then you would also have, like I mentioned, some of the big barns were haunted houses that they weren't very big, but they were still like a 4 or 5 minute haunted house in each little barn. And then, like I said, you would just walk around and go wherever you wanted to go. And in some area there'd be like some crazy thing that you would find, some theater kid ready to scare you. Well, one of the before I get to the part that was like that creeped me out like crazy, um, it ended up closing down because some jerk decided to get drunk and punch one of the theater kids in the face. So
Oh wow.
it became a well. This is the story what I've been told from my friend Mike, and as it became such a hassle, or what do you call it, like a liability that they decided that they're not going to do it anymore. Whoever that guy is, I hope I don't know. I hope his car breaks down every day of his life.
I hope he gets haunted by a shadow person.
I do too, a real shadow person. Um, but there was like, okay, again, when I went there, this was early 90s or late 80s. Okay. And it wasn't that much different of a time, but it was still different. Being PC wasn't as great as it is now. One of
Yeah.
the I'm this Mexican kid. I go into this haunted house. The first thing I see is I'm not kidding you. It's a bunch of guys with chainsaws, and the chainsaws were revving, and they were chasing people, but there was no chain, of course. You know, the chainsaw,
Mhm.
and they were all wearing white hoods and white jackets.
Haunted Klansmen.
Yes, and I remember as a kid, I'm like, you know, like this is, you know, this is like scary in real life too. But overall, that was
Yeah.
fun. And, I've been to some other good ones. They've been there was one that I went to last year, which is the first time I've ever seen this, but they had you know, like most haunted houses have like they have their sections. They have their clown section, they have their zombie
Yes,
section,
yes, yes.
you know, as you go along. This one had a jungle section with like they had like headhunters and all that stuff. But what happened was as soon as you walk into the jungle section, there's like that black ice smoke, you know, like the smoke, uh, and and they have like green laser lights, so it looks like you're walking into a marsh. And as
Mhm.
soon as you step down, the flooring was really, really spongy. So it felt like you were walking around in a swamp. Like it messed with your senses. You're just like, I'm not getting wet, but I feel like I'm in a marsh. So you're walking around this room, and this scared me. It scared my friends. My friend Kelly and Mike were with me. Out of the blue, some guy jumps out of the fog. He's just like, you know, and they were just hiding their way to scare people. That's the first time I saw that. I've seen something like that, and that just scared the bejesus out of me, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna miss these
Yeah.
haunted houses this year.
Yeah, and, so I mean, granted, I haven't gone to one in years, but it's sad, knowing that people can't, like yourself, it sounds to me like you go like every year,
Yeah, we pretty much go
and,
every
and
year.
yeah. Now, have you ever been like into like going into like cemeteries or anything like that, or like checking them
Man,
out, or like breaking into one or something?
in back in now, I guess statute of limitations are up, but uh back in college when I was like around 21, we went to it was up north, like in the northern suburbs of Chicago, and or maybe it was up north, but there was a it wasn't a cemetery, but it was a field that we had done, and this is the early years of the internet. You know, I mean, this is not
Mhm.
early, but still, it wasn't like now where you can look up everything.
It's on your
But
phone, right? Right.
yeah, exactly. But there was like it wasn't a cemetery, it was like a field where people had people were worship where there were saint worshippers out there. You know, like there were people
Mhm.
that had, there were stories of like during, people had been known to be out there, maybe not worshiping saint, but doing like occult stuff.
Mhm.
So my friends and I, we decided, we're like, it was Halloween. We're like, you know what? It was us and a bunch of girls, like guys and girls. And we decided, we're like, let's go to this place. Let's go to this field. We'll take some flashlights. We'll sneak around and let's see if we could find somebody, doing these occult rituals. And we never saw anything, but man, that really scared me. I
Yeah.
was like, like it's like the Blair Witch Project. You're walking around with a light, you know, who knows if they're chasing you, if there's
They
actually,
could have been like, "Get him,
yeah,
get
I know.
them." Like you interrupted their their seance to summon some kind of demon. They're like,
Yeah.
"Kill them,
Get the virgin.
get the virgin." Oh man, yeah, that would have been really creepy. Like to have seen something like that.
How about
Like
you?
that would be just as creepy as like seeing like a ghost. I think
Oh yeah. If there were actually people doing some crazy occult stuff,
Yeah,
I would. I'm not kidding. I would make a run for it because the heck no, man, not
yeah.
my
I think
thing.
I'd be pretty scared. No, I never did anything, like that, anything adventurous, as far as, you know, I'd like to, maybe like someday, like, meet up with a bunch of, you know, friends or something and be like, hey, let's go to like a cemetery and
What we
see.
should do, my buddy Mike mentioned
Mhm.
this. He's like, we should, and I'm thinking of taking him up on this, doing stuff like this. What we could do is for Geekers Creepers, get
Yeah.
like go visit some of these places if they're local, like Resurrection Mary. Maybe go down there, take pictures, take video. We could post it on the YouTube channel, post it on our site. You know,
Yeah.
one of the ones that I wanted to do. Have you ever heard of the Mad Gasser in Mattoon?
No. I know where Mattoon is at, but no, I never
Okay,
heard of that.
so in Mattoon, Illinois, back in the 1930s and 40s, there was people that were being like they were getting sick because there was some guy that was some guy gassed one lady like it was something weird like, and then she was getting sick, and then people in the town thought that it was some guy that was attacking people. And I'd like to go out there. There's a lot of different theories to it. There's a theory that there was actually somebody that did it. There was a theory it was mass hysteria. There's other theories that actually somebody did the first one, but then after that, people just kind of went nuts with it. There was a person that was caught. There was a person that was, there's a lot to it, you know. And I'd like to actually go to Mattoon, kind of do like a little, kind of film stuff, and kind of do,
Hmm.
eventually, if we get big enough, do a Geekers Creepers kind of thing like that.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like, like do a road trip. We
Yeah,
could pass Resurrection Mary on our way to Mattoon.
that'd be perfect. You said there's
Yeah.
a good pizza place up there.
Yeah, we can go to Falco's Pizza and enjoy it. And it's too bad that I'm not really that close to my uncle with the haunted house because that would have been stellar. Because his house is haunted,
You
and
could do like a
this.
one night. See if you just film it. See if you
Yeah.
catch anything.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man. If I go upstairs, I'd probably get spooked. But yeah, I'm not that close to that uncle anymore, sadly,
Mm.
or that family. So that's definitely out of the question. But it would have been pretty interesting. Maybe I will do is I'll take pictures of the house,
Mm.
like from the outside. I thought about doing that the other day, and I was like, when I was coming home from work, I was like, I should pass by the house and just take pictures so you guys could
Maybe
see
if you
it.
take a picture, when you look at it later on, you'll see like there's somebody looking at you through the mirror or
Right.
through the window.
Right. I thought about that too. Like, oh man, that would have been creepy. And yeah, I'll think about doing that. I'll make sure just drive by and take some pictures.
Yeah, but we should. Yeah, like my friend Mike said, I think that's a good idea. Maybe doing like a trip here and there, just take some pictures of some of these places if they're local. You know.
You're right, right, right.
But that's pretty much it for us today. To all the listeners, thank you so much for listening. Again, if you have any topics you want us to talk about on the creepy side, because we're always open to things. I believe next week we're going to go back to our regularly talk about a topic, like a story that we've read somewhere, and we may go into like a missing persons case also. Um, but if anybody has anything in particular, please email us at geekerscreeperscast@gmail.com. I'll include a link on this podcast. You can also check us out on Twitter at Geekers Creepers. I got to get more involved in that, but I'll post more on there. And then you can see our videos on YouTube, Geekers Creepers Podcast. And again, thank you for listening. Get in touch with us. Complain about us if you need to. Tell us what you want us to write about. Correct us if we said something wrong. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, we would greatly appreciate it if you'd give us a thumbs up, a like, or 5 stars. That way we can get more people, those stars will get more people listening to our podcast. We greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anything you need to say, Jose?
No, I just hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. Don't work too hard, and we'll see you guys back here next week.
Okay. And as usual, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you listening more than you can imagine. And until next time, I wish you the best in life, love, and gaming. Good night, everybody.